guys, I'm shocked. Why do I look so good?
Welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you about 5 tips that I learned from my trip to Mexico. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, you take something from it, and most importantly I hope that when you do travel to Mexico you take my tips with you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Alright guys, so I have my phone here with me. I compiled the things that I'm going to be talking about into 5 points and put it in my notes just so it's easy for me to remember, and so I just don't lose track of, you know, the things that I wanted, the important things that I wanted to mention in this video. So if I'm looking down, just know that, you know, I'm looking at my phone so I can get the points and then share with you. My first point is necessary documents, or documents for short. So going into Mexico, obviously this is, you know, my first international travel since I came to Canada basically. So taking and making sure that you have the necessary documents to enter another country is very muy importante. It's very important. So that was, I guess that's like the first thing that I learned, because prior to this trip I hadn't been to this country before, so I just wanted to make sure that I had the necessary documents, especially, you know, we're still, it's not as serious, but we're still in that like COVID-19 travel era where like there's some restrictions, there's some required things that are required, you know, of tourists and travelers at this time. So you definitely want to make sure that all of those things are taken into consideration when you're traveling. So of course I had my passport, I had my what's it called, immigration documents, which is in my case my work permit in Canada, so I had that with me as well. Now getting into Mexico, I wasn't sure if I needed like a tourist card or an American visa or things like that, so these are definitely things that and for context, I did go on this trip with my one of my girlfriends, so we did, you know, make sure to check if we needed any of these documents before getting into the country. Documents like a tourist card, a visa, a stamp, something of the sort. And I did, like, while we were checking, I also know that I had a couple of my friends travel to Mexico recently, so I was asking them a lot of questions on like, oh, did you need any documents, like what did you need to take. They did let me know that I didn't need anything. I just needed, you know, a valid passport and a valid immigration, I guess, paper or immigration status, whatever. I basically needed a valid work permit or study permit. Getting into Mexico, I definitely say the documents, like make sure you have the necessary documents. If it requires you phoning someone from immigration, please do that, because that's one thing I definitely learned on this trip, is just what is necessary and what is not. Obviously for the other countries it'll be different, like they might require something else like a COVID vaccine, whatever what the case was, but all I know is the only 2 things they checked were my passport and my work permit. The second point is language barrier. So let me tell you that, first of all, my Spanish, I haven't spoken this much Spanish. Like the Spanish I spoke on the trip, I haven't spoken that much Spanish ever. Now I am a huge fan of Telemundo. It's basically a television network, and you know, there are a lot of American like Spanish series, movies under that network, so I'm a huge fan of anything Telemundo. I've been watching it from when I was literally a young girl with my mom, so I pick up on, you know, a lot of the things that are said on TV, and obviously speaking Spanish. So when I did get to Mexico, I realized as soon as I landed in the airport that the language barrier was going to be an issue. Now for me, my girlfriend and I, we stayed in an Airbnb. Now for people who would be staying in a hotel or a resort, language barrier might not necessarily be a problem for you. Why? Because a lot of the people, a lot of the locals there are have it in their mind. They already expect that the people coming in are tourists, and the tourists might not necessarily know how to speak Spanish. So there's already that assumption that you do not know how to speak Spanish, and so a lot of the people you will find at the resort or the hotels will know how to speak English. Now for my case, it was, I stayed in an Airbnb and I stayed in the heart of Cancun, like downtown Cancun, and so I basically was living with the locals, like the locals of Cancun, which means a majority of them did not know how to speak English, right? They only spoke Spanish. And so if you're not sharp, or if you're not quick on your Spanish, or if you don't have someone who can translate for you, I'm gonna let you know now, it might be an issue. It might be an issue. Why? Because one, you're not gonna understand a lot of the people, because obviously they'll be speaking Spanish and you're just there like, I'm sorry, me no, I'm no English. And then a lot of the people will try to take advantage of you, okay? They will tell you something is a ridiculous price, and obviously because you can't communicate effectively, you're just gonna be like, oh, because obviously if I'm speaking a language to you that you don't understand, you don't want to make your life a living hell, so you're just gonna be like, okay, yeah, whatever. So you might get taken advantage of quite a bit. Now for me, I love speaking Spanish, I love speaking French, in fact any language in general. I love to learn languages. And so one thing that was my best friend was my phone, Google Translate, okay? I was Google translating every single day. So what I would do is some of the things that I did, say quite often, I have it stuck in my head now. For example, because I know I was taking taxis a lot. If I want to ask the taxi driver how much, I take cuánta. Cuánta means how much. Or if I want to say, if I go to, because I did eat out a lot with my friend, if I want to say where's the bathroom, I will Google that, and it's basically donde está el baño. So things like that. Like Google Translate was my friend. But the one problem with Google Translate is obviously I can speak Spanish, but I don't understand a lot of Spanish. Like I understand the basic things, the basic words, the basic, ¿cómo está? Hola, ¿dónde está? Things like that. But I just understand it, like, especially because Spanish is a language that is spoken really fast, so I would speak the Spanish quite alright, especially with the taxi drivers, because a majority of them do not. I feel like the ones that do speak English, they want to attract the tourists, so that it's like, oh yeah, you're comfortable with me, but you will end up paying them more money. Just know that. Where was I going with this? So for example, if I'm speaking Spanish to the driver, if I start off with hola and I say cuánta, like how much is it to go here, obviously they tell me how much. If they say 200, cuatro something, a lot of the times the fare would be like 500 pesos, 400 pesos, 200 pesos to go to places. So they would tell me that in Spanish, and I'd be like, okay, let's go. And I'd say, okay, the usual gracias, muchas gracias, and things like that. But then when they try to communicate with me in Spanish, that's where I get lost. And obviously I feel embarrassed because I want to be able to speak to them, I want to relate to them, but I just can't because there's a language barrier that's there. So as much as it was fun to speak Spanish to them, once I spoke the Spanish, they just automatically assumed that I knew Spanish, and they would reply to me in Spanish. And I kept trying to tell them that, mo español un poquito, but they wouldn't understand me. So I definitely say, like, if you are planning to stay on an Airbnb, if you want to stay with the locals, language barrier might be an issue. That's one thing I learned personally. So I I just like, I want to make from this trip, I've taken it upon myself to improve my Spanish, to go back again, like even from the airport, start speaking Spanish, because I feel like you're less likely to get taken advantage of if you speak the language and at least try to understand what people are saying. My third point is be street smart. What I mean by this is, now, oh my gosh, from the airport, okay, let me tell you my experience from the airport. From the airport, man, people were rushing me. Like, people were, or I should say us, because it was my girlfriend and I. People were rushing us. Like, I'm talking taxis, buses, shuttles, businesses, money exchange people, bank, like everybody was rushing to help. I don't even know what it, like, it was literally, there were like two lines, there were two sets of people and they formed two lines, and then you have like all the transportation people standing outside. Hola, 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 everybody's trying to get someone to, you know, take to their destination. It was overwhelming. It was crazy. And of course, if you don't speak Spanish, you know, they just assume tourists, English. They'll tell you whatever it is that you want to hear, and obviously they know you want to get to your destination, right? So they're telling you, oh, this is the best deal, this is how much it costs, this is like, and they're usually they are usually very adamant. Like, they will not budge until you budge. Like, they will not budge until you budge. So one thing I've learned is definitely to be hard-headed with them. You have to stand your ground a lot of the time. Between my friend and I feel like I was definitely that person that was like, 500 pesos? 200 pesos? Como? And my friend would just be like, oh, it's basically $2, it's basically $3. And I'm just like, no, honey. We're in Mexico, so we're gonna go by Mexican currency. You feel me? I don't care if it's $2. I don't care. It adds up, okay? So let's not, like, for her it was just like, oh yes, like, it's $2, it's fine. Like, let's just go. But for me, I was definitely like, no, senor, no. But yeah, definitely be street smart. A lot of the time they will try to play you. Okay, and I don't say this to badmouth anyone, but like, you just have to be street smart, because especially, and I say this especially for tourists, because these people think you're coming in with a bag of money, which you kind of are. You're going there to have a good time, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not going here to finish on my life savings. Like, calm down. I'm just coming here to enjoy the place, to enjoy the scenery, to take it all in, you know, spend some coins. Yeah, definitely, but I'm not going to spend half the money that I brought here tipping everybody and doing, you know, just giving everyone my money for free. So you have to be, you know, if you want to tip, definitely do tip. But I found that a lot of the time you tip for basically everything, and I'm just like, chill. Like, you don't even know if the service you provided me was good or not. You haven't even checked in on me with that, and you just expect me to tip you. Like, they add in the tip like it's basically a bill. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, if I buy food, I get billed for the food, fair enough, but then they add in the tip like it's part of the meal, like you're tipping for the meal, if that makes sense. So a lot of the time you have to be like, okay, tell them how much you want to tip if you want to tip. And whenever you're being given a bill, don't be afraid. Muy importante, don't be afraid to break the bill down, because I do remember this particular experience where, you know, my friend and I went out to eat, and our bill ended up coming to almost 1,500 pesos. And like, my mind, whenever I see bills like that, especially in Mexico, whenever I'd see bills like that, my mind wouldn't register that, you know, the equivalent in Canadian dollars isn't as much. But at the same time, I'm like, dang, like 1,500 pesos is a lot of money, right, in pesos. So we basically got that bill, and obviously they didn't have an ATM in the place, and we didn't have that much cash on us, so we had to go and find an ATM. And then taking out money was just a hassle, because we get charged obviously the fee for taking out money and blah 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 blah. So we ended up only having about 1,100 pesos, right? And you know, we tried to explain to the guy like, oh, this is how much we can take out, like. But for me, I was definitely taking aback, because how did we end up between the two of us, how did we end up racking up 1,500 pesos? Like that, it seemed like a lot to me. So my friend spotted this cardboard thing that this guy had written on, and he basically wrote down how much our food costs beside it. So like if we ordered, when we ordered, like we ordered margaritas and drinks and things, like he just wrote down what we ordered and put the pricing beside it. Now I do still believe to this day that we were cheated, because there is no way both of our drinks cost 400 pesos. There is no way. I remember seeing the price on that menu and it was only, I think, 80 to 100 pesos. So for it to be 400 pesos, we didn't get water and nothing. It was just the 2 drinks. I think the 2 margaritas that we got or something. And they ended up being 400 pesos. And what this guy did was he put the menu in front of us, we ordered, and he took it away really quick. So I think that's another thing too. I'm not saying go there and budget, like, but I'm just saying like be street smart, right? Like unless you end up spending so much money that you hadn't even planned for. And for me personally, when I go on trips, I definitely do have a budget. I'm not going on this trip to be broke. I'm going to have a good time and, you know, come back and pay my bills. And so yeah, I saw that the drinks racked up to 400 pesos, and you know, at the end of the day, when we did our calculations, everything came up to 1,000 pesos, right? And so we're like, okay, 1,000 pesos, he's asking for 1,500 pesos, where is that coming from? And then we're like, oh yeah, but it's 1,000 pesos, like what's happening? And the guy pointed down to the bottom where he wrote tips. He wrote tips at the bottom and added it to our bill. And mind you, he didn't even, like, it wasn't even a thing that was said. Like, you know how in Canada they give you the POS and it's like, oh, tip 10%, 15, 20, da 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 da. But like this guy literally just put in any tip amount that he wanted, and he's like, oh yeah, this is tip. And I was like, dang. It was kind of frustrating, to be honest, because we were trying our best to take out money from the ATM and, you know, it wasn't really working. And so to just realize that he was going to basically take advantage of us like that was, it was kind of shitty. So definitely be street smart, because they do know their people. At the end of the day, they know their people. They know those who are coming in as tourists, and all they are saying on your head is money bag, money bag, money bag, honestly and truly. So you have to be street smart. You have to think for yourself. You have to think smart and hard, and you have to stand your ground. Okay, I know some people have different I know people have different personalities and whatnot, but for me, if I don't want to give you something, I won't give it to you, and you're not going to force me to give it to you at the end of the day. I will tip you 100%, but then don't feel entitled to my money is what I'm saying. And I just don't like being taken advantage of as well. Like, if it happened before, it would not happen again. And even with taxi services too, like, don't be afraid to stand your ground, because you know, you might say, oh yeah, like the equivalent isn't that it's not that much, it's not that this, but at the same time, you don't want to just be dashing everybody money. Like, you literally don't want to be dashing. I really hope I don't sound greedy. It's not, if you want to give people money, give people money. What I'm saying is to be smart about the choices and the decisions you make, and don't let anyone take advantage of you, period. That's what I'm saying. Okay, my fourth point is appropriate clothing. Now, at the beginning of this video, I did say that one of the 3 words that I would use to describe this trip is hot, and I intentionally put hot as the number 1 because this place was hot. It was only plus 25, and it was really hot. Like, it was really hot. All the clothing, and let me tell you, I brought like little to no clothing. Like, I got like a dress that was super airy. I think I packed mostly dresses and like tops and shorts for like when I did the physical activities. But still, even with those things, it's like you still, as soon as we stepped out of our Airbnb, like the second, I'm not even exaggerating, the second we stepped out of our Airbnb, like I would be dripping sweat. I would literally be dripping sweat. I don't know how other people did it. I didn't see anyone else that was sweating as much as I was, but dang, I was sweating. It was so hot, you guys. It was so hot. So definitely pack appropriate clothing. The next time I go there, I'm definitely going to pack a lot of biker shorts. I'm definitely going to pack a lot more dresses. I feel like the dresses I packed weren't even enough. And I'll definitely pack like cotton material dresses, not silk or, you know, anything that's too clingy, because it won't really give. Like, I just sweat through it and be uncomfortable for the rest of the day. I remember we went to Mercado 28 and it was really hot. Like, that day was super hot. I almost fainted. Like, and I wore a silk dress, or is it silk or satin? I can't remember, one of the above, and I was dying. I should have worn shorts under that dress because I was so uncomfortable. My feet were sweating, and I wore my wedge sandals that day as well, and I felt like I was just melting, and I was so uncomfortable, and it was crazy. So definitely appropriate clothing, like even straight from the airport too. You want to pack you want to pack things that you are comfortable in, things that are light and airy, and things that you can, because we were doing a lot of walking as well, so things that you can comfortably move around in as well. Yeah, that's definitely just my point 4 in a nutshell. Point five, the last but definitely not the least, the people. I definitely learned a lot from being there about the people. I kept telling my friend, I'm like, dang, like, people here are not friendly. Like, when I say hola, nobody replies to me in Spanish. Like, I really wanted to get my Spanish going. I was really planning on meeting, like, you know, my just kidding. But no, I kept ranting to my friend. I'm like, dang, nobody's like friendly. We did meet this black guy. Like, we met a black guy there, and he was like the only person that, you know, tried to engage with us. He was like, hey, where you're from? Like, and he had his dog. He was cute, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, he was the only one that I'd say, okay, yeah, I definitely remember this encounter. But everyone else was just kind of like in their lane, minding their business. Like, if you say, like, some of them would say hi, some of them wouldn't. But I don't know, maybe I'm just used to the Canadian culture of like everyone being overly nice sometimes. And so when I went there, I felt the difference, and I was like, oh, like, nobody's nice. I want people to speak Spanish to me, but nobody's speaking Spanish to me. But it definitely, you know, did open my eyes to just like how the people are there, and just knowing that people definitely like to mind their own business. Like, they're very much keeping to themselves. Like, they will talk to you, the friendly ones will talk to you and like, hey, where are you from? There was this one guy on the boat trip that we were on. He kept calling my friend Canada. He was like, Canada, or something like that. And yeah, it was really an eye-opening experience. And yeah, those are the 5 points, 5 lessons, I guess I would say, that I learned from my trip. Oh yeah, so necessary documents, language barrier, being street smart, appropriate clothing, and the people. I'm super excited, even just knowing all of this and learning all of these things. I'm super excited to just definitely go back there, you know, with a new mindset, you know, ready to get my Espanol on a roll. I love speaking Spanish. You have no idea. And like, even that language barrier, it challenged me to better my Spanish and, you know, try to understand my Spanish as well, or try to understand Spanish as a language as well. But yeah, it was a fun trip. Like I said, if you do go, I hope you take these tips and lessons with you, and just let me know how your trip goes, okay? Feel free to ask me any questions in the comment sections. Wow, there's just one section. Yeah, in the comment section, I'm happy to answer all the questions you might have, whether it's like how we changed our currency, you know, the rates, documents, anything that you have that you want to ask, please do. I hope I didn't scare you with any of these points. I just wanted to be as realistic as possible. This is somewhere that I definitely will travel to again, so it's not a thing of like, oh, I hate this place, I'm never going back. No, I'm 100% going back. sooner rather than later. I'm 100% going back. I loved it. It was beautiful. It was a nice space to be in. It was super hot, but still, like, the food was amazing. The water, amazing. It was definitely giving me vibes. It was definitely giving me the best vibes. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would definitely see you guys in my next video. Okay, be sure to subscribe, like this video, share, comment. You know I love your comments, guys. Like, do I have to keep saying it? But but I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much. Bye.